Are you and your spouse at odds with how to raise your children? Well, today we're going to give you some strategies on how to get over those differing opinions.
I'm Tiffany Bakke of The Self-Motivated Child, and joining me today is my husband Kyle. And we're going to talk about differing parent styles and how to recognize those in each other and find a common ground. Even if you don't agree of the same parenting styles, you can at least understand the other's point of view.
One of the first things that you need to grasp and agree on, and this really, you really have to get on the same page with your spouse, are those core fundamentals, that the overall strategy with where you want your children to be as they enter adulthood. Do you want them to be independent, self-motivated? Do you want them to be very kind? Do you want them to be very godly? Do you want them to be ultra competitive? Do you want them to be number one at everything? Those core foundations are going to set the stage on how you go about raising your children in a tactical execution type of manner. But you need to agree with your spouse at those core foundational strategies. If you don't agree with those, then you're going to run into some real issues.
So there really are three basic type of parenting styles. You have the very strict type of parent, you have the more permissive type of parent, and then you have a parent that falls in the middle ground between the two, that is balanced. And so when we talk about strict parenting, it's basically, it's my way, no questions. I'm not going to give you any reasons why you're going to do what I say, and that's how it is. With more the permissive, it's that you're allowing your child to explore and figure things out without not a lot of guidance. And while this can be more of an opportunity for your child to figure things out, it creates some difficulties when your child has no previous experience with the world and they're not getting guidance from you. So a lot of parents then try to take the balanced route of being strict with some things, but having the clear reasoning why they're that way, helping their child to understand why things are that way, but also allowing their child to be part of the decision making, or letting the child have a say in how things are done, so that you negate any sort of power struggles between your child and yourself.
So while Tiffany talks about those three different styles, the permissive, the strict, and then the balanced approach, we're not advocating that any one of those is better than the other. But what is probably most important is that you use the appropriate technique dependent on the situation, on the scenario, right? For example, perhaps your daughter is being extremely argumentative with, asking her to do the dishes, right? And there's a scenario where, okay, understand you've got a lot of homework, but then there's the other side of the coin where, no, you need to help. You're going to do the dishes, no questions asked. So I guess that lends itself more towards the balanced approach, but it really is scenario dependent.
Right. And we often have to remind ourselves as parents, because we still learn too, is when one of us is taking the role of disciplining or teaching our children, that the other one is providing solidarity, that the other spouse is not going against what you're saying when you are having this discussion with your child. You want to provide that unified front. And also, it's hard sometimes, but resisting the urge to dogpile on, that your spouse is talking to your child and then you're just adding on, and you want to resist the tendency to do that.
And that's probably one of the more difficult things to really recognize and overcome, because spur of the moment, you've got something that you want to say. You want to make sure that your child understands exactly where you're coming from. And so in those scenarios, my wife and I run into that a lot. You need to establish, or you can establish, some kind of a signal. Maybe it's a word, or maybe, it's a gesture or something nonverbal to say, hey, cool it, I've got it handled, please stop. Otherwise you run into the scenario where you break down on that solidarity, because the only way to get the other person to stop dogpiling is if you actually say something in front of the children, which is not going to be helpful to the scenario at all.
So you're going to have possibly different approaches of how you parent your child, but as long as you remember to keep the end goal in mind of the type of adult you want your child to become, you'll be able to find that balanced ground with one another. If you like what you have seen so far, be sure to subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, follow me on Facebook at Tiffany Bakke.